Welcome back, learner. Have you ever found yourself in a situation where you just felt completely, utterly useless?
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Right. Like, think about a time when you were staring at a task. Maybe it was a new role at work or even just a weird social situation. And you felt like you were failing at something that literally everyone else around you was navigating effortlessly.
It is the worst feeling.
It really is. You get that sinking feeling in your stomach, and the internal monologue just starts running, telling yourself, I'm just not smart enough for this, or I fundamentally lack whatever it takes to succeed here.
Yeah, and it's a universally isolating experience. I mean, we've all been there. And what usually happens in those moments is we immediately internalize the friction. We
Right.
take a situational failure and turn it into this permanent verdict on our character or our intelligence.
Hmm.
We treat our personal value as a fixed baseline, like it's a static score that we carry around with us no matter what room we walk into.
Which is such a heavy burden to carry, honestly. But today, we are taking a deep dive into an essay that completely dismantles that exact way of thinking.
It really does. It's fascinating.
Yeah, the piece is by Su Feng, written on June 11th, 2023, and it poses a very blunt question right in its title. It's called, Take a Look at Whether You Have Any Value in Existence.
A bit confrontational, honestly.
A little bit, yeah. But our mission for this deep dive is to explore the author's radical reframing of self-worth. The core argument we're going to unpack is that, well, a lack of success isn't a lack of personal value at all.
No, not at all.
Right. Instead, it's simply a profound problem of placement.
And that reframing offers this massive psychological relief because the foundational premise we're exploring today asserts that absolutely everything and absolutely everyone possesses unconditional value.
Everyone.
Everyone. When someone or something appears to lose their worth, that value hasn't evaporated, it hasn't been destroyed. The person or the object is simply existing in the wrong time, the wrong place, or they're engaged in the wrong occupation.
So to really grasp the mechanics of how this works, we need to look at how extreme environmental changes dictate the worth of an object. The essay strips away all our, emotional baggage around the word value by starting with a very stark contrast,
Yet the author uses a pile of cow dung to illustrate this point.
which is quite the visual.
It is. But think about it.
Huh.
If you place a pile of cow dung at the roots of a crop or a plant, it possesses immense value. It releases essential nutrients, it conditions the soil, it literally fosters life.
Right, it's fertilizer.
Exactly. But if you take that exact same pile of dung with the exact same chemical composition and you drop it in the middle of a pristine white sandy beach,
It becomes entirely worthless.
completely, it becomes a nuisance that ruins the environment.
The dung itself didn't change, right? Only its coordinates did. And the author then swings to the complete opposite end of the spectrum to look at a diamond.
Yeah.
A diamond holds undeniable, universally recognized value when it's polished and set into a crown. It catches the light, it signifies power, royalty, all of that. But if you take that exact same diamond and bury it 100 feet deep in the dirt,
It loses its existence value entirely.
yeah, it's just another hard rock sitting in the dark.
And this underlying logic, it scales directly up to human skills and talents. Like a person with a magnificent operatic singing voice has incredible value on a stage.
Absolutely.
But if you put that same person in a coal mine, their vocal range does absolutely nothing to help extract ore.
Yeah, they'd be totally useless down there.
Right. Or consider a master gardener. This is someone who understands the subtle language of the soil, someone who can cultivate life from a barren field. But if you force that gardener to sit at a desk under fluorescent lights doing, say, artificial intelligence research,
Oh, man.
they cannot demonstrate their value at all. They will look completely incompetent.
And the essay even pushes into some edgier territory to really drive this home. There's an example of what the author calls a shallow but sexually appealing girl.
Yeah, that part is definitely provocative.
It is. But in the context of the essay, she might find incredibly high value and success working in the nightlife industry or entertainment. But if you were to suddenly put her in charge of managing a complex corporate organization, she wouldn't just fail to demonstrate value.
She would introduce absolute chaos to the company.
Exactly. So the overarching rule established by these contrasts is absolute misplaced treasures become garbage, and correctly placed garbage becomes treasure.
Which completely shifts the blame, doesn't it?
It really does. We're so used to blaming our own internal software when things go wrong, but this suggests it's actually an incompatibility with the external hardware. It's like, well, It's like a puzzle piece, thinking it's fundamentally broken just because it's being jammed into the wrong section of the board.
That's a great analogy.
But that actually brings up an interesting mechanical question. Does the author believe the diamond literally loses its value in the dirt? Or is the value just dormant until someone digs it up?
Okay, so that distinction is the linchpin of the whole philosophy.
Hmm.
The atomic structure of the diamond, or, the shape of your puzzle piece, remains completely intact. The existence of the value does not disappear.
Okay.
What disappears is the ability to demonstrate that value.
Mm.
Demonstration requires interaction.
Right, because value is relational.
Yes, value is deeply relational. You cannot be valuable in a vacuum. Your value only activates when it collides with an environment that requires exactly what you naturally possess.
Okay, if we accept that value is purely relational, this leads us to arguably the most provocative claim in the entire deep dive, because the essay moves from generic professions directly into human intelligence and individual potential.
And the claim is uncompromising. The text states that there are no idiots, no mediocre individuals, and no wasted talents in the world, period. None. Every single person is a genius. Every person is outstanding and capable.
Okay, hold on. I have to push back gently on that on behalf of the listener because I am struggling to buy it wholesale.
Sure, yeah.
We all know people who genuinely seem to lack motivation, or who constantly make terrible decisions, or who just seem fundamentally bad at adapting to life. Is the author seriously claiming that there is zero baseline for natural intelligence or drive? Like every single person walking around is a hidden genius.
I know it sounds wildly idealistic, but yes.
Yeah.
The framework demands that you completely abandon the idea of a genetic baseline for intelligence or competence.
Wow.
The text insists that idiot or fool is not a personality trait, it's not a genetic baseline, it is exclusively a symptom of environmental mismatch.
So a genius engaged in the wrong profession becomes a fool.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And a fool engaged in the right profession becomes a genius. When you look at someone who appears lazy or foolish, you're simply observing an organism in the wrong habitat.
Hmm.
You're looking at the master gardener trying to write AI code. And to illustrate this, the essay brings in a modern hypothetical involving Elon Musk.
Oh, let's follow that logic. The essay argues that if Musk had remained in South Africa, given the specific economic constraints and structural realities there during his early life, he would have likely been just a minor employee in some random company.
Right, and it goes even further. If he had lived in certain countries, his relentless drive, his boundary pushing, and his highly disruptive ideas wouldn't just be ignored, they would be aggressively pathologized.
Right, really?
Yeah, the environment would view his natural disposition as a severe liability, to the point where he could have been labeled mentally ill and institutionalized.
That is wild. So his defining traits, the exact things that make him a billionaire today, would be treated as a literal disease in the wrong zip code.
Exactly. But by moving to the United States, an environment equipped with massive venture capital, a tolerance for high-risk technological disruption, and a culture that practically worships innovation, that specific ecosystem acted as the perfect hardware for his internal software.
The environment allowed him to become what the author calls a world-renowned genius among geniuses.
Yes, his internal code never changed. Only the external operating system changed.
Okay, so if every single listener and person on Earth is a hidden genius waiting for the correct operating system, it begs a massive question. What is keeping so many people trapped in these fool or mediocre roles?
Yeah, what's the machinery holding us back?
Right. And that leads directly to what the author views as the systemic culprits. And just a quick note for the listener, we are exploring this strictly through the author's framework to understand the mechanics of their argument. We're not taking sides here.
Right, we're just unpacking the text.
Exactly, because he also provides a very specific and controversial list of what causes geniuses to become fools. They list marriage and family, national consciousness, state consciousness, religious ideologies, and centralized management systems.
It is a staggering list for sure.
It's fascinating because most people view things like marriage, starting a family, or having a deep sense of national pride as the very things that give their life meaning. It's the foundation of their value.
Yeah, for a lot of people, that's the whole point.
Right. So how does the author reconcile framing them as the exact traps that destroy our natural genius?
Well, the author views these not as societal pillars, but as rigid structures. It's about how these systems function mechanically. A centralized state, a rigid religious institution, or even the traditional expectations of a marriage. They all rely on predictability.
Okay, I see.
They require what the text calls deliberate guidance, standardized rules and expectations to maintain order. They create these one-size-fits-all templates for what a successful life looks like.
So if society needs standard squares to build its structures, and you are naturally a triangle, these institutions will spend your entire life trying to sand down your corners.
Precisely. They force individuals to act against their true nature and fit into predefined boxes. A state needs obedient workers, not wild, unpredictable innovators. A traditional family structure might demand financial stability over risky creative pursuit.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So when you are subjected to this intense top-down pressure, you sever the connection to your innate value. You spend all your energy trying to become a mediocre square, and in the process, your genius as a triangle is completely lost.
The author actually draws a really sharp contrast here to explain what an environment without these constraints would look like, using the concept of heaven.
Yes, the text contrasts earthly society with heaven. It asserts that in heaven there are no fools, no mediocrities, and no wasted talents.
Because it lacks all those rigid structures.
Exactly. Because heaven lacks marriage, family obligations, state consciousness, religion, and centralized administration, there's no pressure to conform. Without those heavy templates forcing behavior, individuals naturally flow like water into the exact placements where their specific, unmodified genius is required.
Which brings us to the most counterintuitive and honestly the most challenging part of this entire deep dive.
Here we go.
Because if the structures of society are the trap, the natural instinct for anyone listening, especially high achievers, is to ask, okay, how do I work harder to break free? How do I hustle my way out of this mismatch?
And the essay's highly counterintuitive answer to that instinct is to completely stop. Stop trying so hard.
The paradox of effort.
Yes. The text takes direct aim at what it calls cultivation. The idea of constantly trying to prune and shape yourself, or practicing Buddhism to achieve enlightenment.
Right, the endless treadmill of self-help and self-optimization.
Exactly. The author argues that many people spend their lives practicing this, but they ultimately fail because the deliberate effort itself makes them lose their true nature.
The essay explicitly states that true cultivation lies in not deliberately cultivating. True achievement is found in not striving. And true planning is found in not scheming.
It completely inverts the modern work ethic.
It does. It argues that any deliberate education or brute force effort to achieve a specific purpose is actually the most effective way to turn yourself into a fool.
And to explain why striving is so destructive, the author introduces this fascinating mathematical breakdown of reality. They propose a 70-30 rule.
Let's break that down.
So, if you are living a life where you cannot demonstrate your value, your subjective factors, meaning you, your willpower, your internal effort, your hustle only, account for 3 points out of 10. That is 30%.
Okay, just 30%.
Right. The objective factors, your environment, timing, luck, and destiny, account for the remaining 7 points. That is 70%.
So 70% of your ability to demonstrate value is entirely out of your internal control.
Yes. And the author uses some incredibly vivid analogies to make us feel the weight of that 70%. They ask, can you breathe fresh air while living in smog?
I mean, no.
Right, it doesn't matter if you practice the most advanced, optimized breathing techniques in the world. You cannot outbreathe smog. The environment dictates your reality.
Yeah.
They also ask, can you become a philosopher while living under autocratic rule?
Your ideas would just be crushed.
Exactly. Or you'll be silenced before your genius can ever be recognized.
Oh.
It ultimately comes down to timing, luck, and destiny.
And my favorite analogy from the text is the winter plant. The text points out that even if you are an extraordinary, one-of-a-kind biological marvel of a plant, you cannot emit a single hint of greenness if you are buried in an icy winter covered in snow.
You just can't.
Your inability to grow isn't a failure of your biology. It's simply the overwhelming reality of the winter. But I have to admit, hearing all this, that 70% of our value relies on objective factors, and that putting in deliberate effort just makes us fools. It raises a really important question for you, the listener.
Sure.
Doesn't that sound incredibly defeatist? Like, if the environment dictates almost everything, why should we even get out of bed in the morning? What's the point of trying?
It definitely feels defeatist if you interpret it as a command to give up on life. But that's not the underlying mechanism here at all. There is actually a profound optimism hidden in this math.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's not about surrendering. It's about strategic redirection. The author is issuing a warning against fighting a war you mathematically cannot win. If you are that plant buried in the freezing snow, spending 100% of your energy trying to force a bloom is a tragic waste of your life force.
You'll just freeze to death, exhausted, totally convinced that you're a defective plant.
Exactly. So the lesson isn't to stop living. The lesson is to stop wasting your 30% trying to overcome the 70%. Your energy shouldn't be spent fighting a toxic or mismatched environment. Your energy should be spent finding your right environment. It gives you permission to stop trying to force a fit where one simply doesn't naturally exist.
So let's synthesize all of this for you, the learner. If there is one core lesson to take away from Zhuofeng's essay today, is that your value is not a fixed number on a scorecard. It is a profound, dynamic interaction between your innate, unchangeable nature and the environment you currently inhabit.
You are always inherently valuable, but you are not always standing in a room that has the capacity or the need to value you.
Right. We want to challenge you to audit your own life with this framework. Look closely at the areas where you feel like you're constantly failing, where you feel drained, or where no matter how hard you hustle, you just can't seem to gain traction.
Ask yourself the hard questions.
Yeah. Are you a master gardener forcing yourself to do AI research because society told you that's where the prestige is? Are you judging yourself as garbage when you might actually be a misplaced treasure sitting on the wrong beach?
It requires a radical shift in your internal dialogue. The next time you hit a wall, instead of asking, "What is fundamentally wrong with me?" the framework urges you to ask, "What is wrong with my placement?"
And that leads us to a final provocative thought for you to mull over on your own today. We spent this time discussing how to stop striving and instead find the environment where you are naturally a diamond. But in a modern world where industries change overnight, where AI disrupts whole professions, and where the environment is constantly shifting under our
Oh,
feet.
I can move fast.
They really do. So does the perfect placement even exist long term? If you actually find the environment where you are a diamond, does the concept of work disappear entirely?
That's a great point.
Or does the rapid pace of the modern world require us to be chameleons rather than diamonds? Adapting to new dirt rather than waiting to be placed in a crown? Just something to think about the next time you feel like you're failing at the easiest things. Maybe you aren't failing at all. Maybe it's just the wrong game.